We're recording. All right. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. It's Thursday, March 21st at 7 p.m. Will you please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you please call the roll, Mary Beth?
Commissioner Bendy.
Here.
Commissioner Bowe.
Here.
Commissioner Grau.
Here.
Commissioner Halting.
Here.
Commissioner Leduc.
Present.
Commissioner Matza.
Here.
Does anyone have anything to amend, add, or delete to the current agenda? All right, we will move on to public comment on non-agenda items. I actually thought we were going to have a visitor tonight, but I guess not. All right, I move to approve minutes of the February 21st special board meeting, the February 22nd special board meeting, the March 7th special board meeting, a regular board meeting, and the March 11th special board meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion on any of those? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. What is the number of the, here we go. I move to approve the closed meeting minutes as identified in Exhibit A and maintain these minutes in the closed meeting records of the Park Ridge Park District, finding good cause exists to maintain them as confidential.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's roll call. I am sorry, that's a roll call vote. Thank you.
That's okay. Commissioner Bowe.
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
Commissioner Halting.
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc.
Yes.
Commissioner Matza.
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy.
Yes.
All right. Report of park officials. John is not with us tonight, so we will skip that. We have a attorney.
Aaron's with us tonight.
No report. And we will move on to executive director.
Thank you. I have a few things to mention this evening. It's mentioned in Karen's report about the electricity bid that will be next Wednesday, and I'll be handling that in her absence. And so, as a reminder, this is a one-year term for a couple of our accounts, the Centennial Activity Center and the Oakton account. We'll also be receiving pricing for renewable energy. The current contract expires on these two accounts in May of 2024. That they are aware that we're going to have very little to no, very little use, whatever the contractors are using over at Oakton. But so they're aware of that. And am I forgetting anything on that, Karen? It has to happen all in, it's one of those, it has to happen all on that one day because the prices come out and then we sign the contract. And so I just want to remind the board about that. Let's see. John Shea is with us tonight, so I wanted to welcome him. Showed him upstairs and showed him around the building. So he will start, of course, May 1st. We'll also have Allison Riker starting April 8th, the new HR director. And she will work with Diane and transition until April 30th, when Diane's last day will occur. The job fairs, I think if you'd read the HR director report, has been going wonderfully. I'm probably stealing a little thunder from April's area, who's been, and Terry's, who have been doing most of the hiring. But I really liked one of the things they did this year that was new. You know, we've been doing these and adding to these job fairs, which I think have been very productive. And the one I really liked that they did that I heard was there were 65 job seekers there, was the one at Main Park where it wasn't appointments, which I think is very nice for this age group, right? It's just come and you'll be interviewed. So those have been very successful as well. So the staff's done a great job with that. Everything is gearing up. It's spring, but summer brochure goes out at the beginning of May. It's May 6th that will go out. Spring brochure went out and registration is occurring for that. Just a note about the 7-Eleven Hamlin property. I did talk, I hadn't heard from Superintendent Wallace for a while. I reached out today and he said, of course, things are moving a little slower than anticipated, but they are, what he would like to do is try to get a memorandum of agreement together between our two agencies, since he will be leaving and I will be leaving, just to lay down, nothing, it can't be anything 100% binding, but that we're, both boards and the staffs have agreed to work towards this project, understanding that it was going to take a couple of years, to get to the point of, building, right? But as they start moving through their plans, then they'll bring us in, the Park District. So wanted to mention that because that's something that's hanging out there. I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
It's interesting. I drove by there today and I was wondering
Yeah,
what was going on.
I figured,
So that's
yeah.
exciting.
Uh-huh.
Can I ask about marketing or just comment on
Yeah,
marketing?
of course.
So the Friends of the Park bike sale is coming again. If you all have bikes that you want to bring in April 13th is the bring your bike, and April 27th is the buy your bike. And if you want to come help, you can do that too. Although it's usually snowing on the first day. no, only sometimes. And thanks to the board for all of you who joined Friends of the Parks. I think there might be one or two that haven't, but if you are so inclined, it would be great. It's tax deductible. Just had to make a plug. All right. Anybody else?
Questions? No? Thank you.
It was in Margaret's report. That's why.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That's good to point out. That's coming up as well.
All right, and nothing on human resources, anyone? All right, we'll move to finance.
I'll turn it over to Superintendent Larson.
Hello. My report begins on page 17, and I just wanted to highlight a few things for finance and IT. We are still finishing up the audit. We had a good week of field work, and it was really gratifying when the auditors left. They said if they wouldn't have known there was a transition, they wouldn't have known there was a transition, which was really great because it's something Lucy and I were and the whole finance team, we were very worried about that. We kind of had a good system up to this point, and we wanted to be sure that the transition was seamless, and they were very appreciative of that. So I'm working with them now on just a few things. I did the last 2 journal entries today, and then I'm creating a report about with a suggested fund balance transfer. Again, I mentioned in the report we're assuming it'll still be around $800,000, but they did share with me a report that Sandra used to do for them, so I've got that now, and I'm updating that. I'll review it with Gail, and then we'll be able to make that entry. And then there's one final GASB 96. GASB is the General Accounting and Standards Board. I could talk about that forever, but I won't. But there's a new standard that this is our first year having to utilize the standard and provide information about, and it has to do with technology subscription services. So I have a meeting with one of our auditors tomorrow morning, and then I'll be working with our IT director, O'Leary, to help me gather what we need for that. It's really just, making sure that our subscription process is transparent. So I'll be happy to share more with that as I learn more about it. So those are the 2 final things on our side for the audit. They've already started their review with their management team. They'll go back, make some changes. Then eventually, in early April, it'll go to the partners and they review it. And then we get a draft and start reviewing that. There's other statistical information that I have to add to the document. That it's all the statistical information at the end. So April will be our review month. So I'm happy to, They will. Yep. I'm not sure yet when, but their goal is to be here in May. So, and I don't see any reason why that would change this year.
Great. I actually had a quick question. So since we know there's going to be a drop off in revenue for next year, also, of course, the drop off in expenses while Oakton is closed, like, will any overages at the end, or surplus, will it be applied differently than it would in a normal year?
Well, we didn't budget for any surplus for next year, just anticipating that.
Right, but I mean, like, the surplus from, if there's surplus from this year when you carry over, I'm just was curious if it would be handled differently than it normally would be.
No, it wouldn't. It would still go to capital, and it was in our projection to transfer about 800,000. So we'd planned for that in our capital budget. So far, it's not going to be handled any differently. I mean, things could change, obviously, but right now it'll definitely go to capital. How it, which project it goes to, that may shift around a little bit, but
And it's, I always have to stare at this because we budgeted for transferring about
231.
31. Thank you. But then when we go in and do the projections, right, when we're coming back and like doing the budget for next year, that's when when we see, how it's going. So that's when we changed it. And so when you approve the budget, you approved it based on our projections of 800. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I was,
Unless it goes up and it,
I was
could,
just
a
curious
little
if
bit.
it would be handled differently, given that there was going to be a
yeah.
anomaly of a circumstance.
Right. Yes. So that'll happen. Like Karen said, we didn't budget for any transfer. So that's built into our capital projections for the next couple of years.
Any
Question?
other questions about the finance piece of?
Can I ask one more?
Sure.
The taxes that we just paid or are paying now, is that the first time that the
Tiff?
Oakton is on there?
The taxes that,
Oh, you mean the taxpayer?
Us as
Yeah.
homeowners?
Right.
oh, sorry. I was like, we're not paying taxes.
No,
We're
it's
not paying
not
taxes.
Till
Yeah.
Spring, right? Or is it?
This is spring.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the one you just got.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. For IT, I just wanted to highlight a few things. As Terry, I'm sure we'll talk about, they've been spending a lot of time at Oakton along with the buildings and grounds team, making sure that everything that's at Oakton is finding a home in a different place at the Park District. So they were over there most of the day today, getting out the last bits and pieces of shelving and cables and anything else that we want to take out of the building before demolition starts to happen. They also completed a really important project. This was great for the audit, which is a complete documentation of all of our IT equipment. We had it, but it was in pieces. And our new specialist that we hired this year, he kind of, from day one, he was interested in that project and wanted to tackle it. And it was a great way for him to learn what's where in the district and what we have. So that was done just recently, and it's been a really important project for the district. So we'll have that as a baseline going forward, all in one place, which is really nice. Any questions about IT?
No, I see we bought a really big CD though last month.
Yes, we did.
200,000.
Yep. So that was my first purchase decision. So it was very exciting. I know. Yeah, so it's been really great this month. I've started to work with PMA. Obviously, I mentioned in the finance part of the financial part of my report that we met with them, and but then also I attended a webinar of a new product they have. We're talking about the reimbursement of our capital expenses, and so it feels really great to start getting a feel for the ebb and flow of this. We did, and I haven't looked at it yet. Terry just sent it to me today, the cash flow for the Oakton project, so I can start to merge that with my cash flow. And then our investment advisors have said that they'll look at that with me to make sure their piece of it is also lining up. So we'll have the Oakton piece, we'll have the PMA piece, and I think it'll help us all be able to project what's going to happen, know when we need things, and just it'll be another piece of the puzzle for the project. So it was a very exciting month for me. I know. Any other
Anything else?
questions?
I move to approve payment vouchers in the total amount of $879,512.98. Second. Thank you very much. Are there any questions about payment vouchers for this month? No? All right, Mary Beth, you want to do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Grau.
Aye.
Commissioner Halting.
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc.
Aye.
Commissioner Matza.
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy.
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that concludes finance, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Leduc for recreation.
And I will turn it over to Superintendent Armour.
Thank you. A few highlights from the recreation area. The month of February saw the Royal Princess Ball and the open house for preschool, which had 2 sessions. The Wildwood visitor numbers continue to be off the charts in February, so we'll see if that continues. The everything at Oakton ended their last month before construction on a high note with an increase in participation compared to last year pretty much across the board. Our STAR membership continues to increase, and there were many exciting trips, events, classes offered throughout the month. Similarly, the fitness center membership, personal training, rentals, and group fitness all saw the same upward trend, with group fitness seeing an average of 15 participants per class, which is the most we've seen in a really long time. The aquatics department hired a much-needed coordinator position, hosted a Valentine party at the pool, and also saw growth in the lesson area. Page 42 has a lot of the upcoming events listed, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just wanted to note that I saw the new Oscar movies thing and that they had 46 attendance, so it looks like that was a big hit.
It was, yeah.
So when are you going to drop the age to 50?
Put some gray in your hair and you can get in, you know. That's all right. Come soon enough.
You know.
Can you tell us about the Taylor Swift event?
Sure, it has an impersonator and bracelet making and other crafts inspired by,
And where are you going to have it at?
I believe it's at O'Connor,
Connor, okay.
I think.
Well, I just wanted to know, need to know, you know, just.
I'm just going to give props to Robin Battaglia, who I dealt with this week for Beyond the Bell. People know I got a new job, and it goes from a regular schedule to me working from home and then like leaving for a week. So I had to call and adjust my Beyond the Bell schedule. And granted, it's before care where there's more flexibility than after care, so that helps. But I sent her an email and she called me to make sure she had it right, and we worked through it on the phone because it is like he goes every Tuesday and Wednesday now, and now he's going to be like not in but have to do these full weeks. So she was really great to work with, and I was kind of giving her a weird work situation. So it was, and the Beyond the Bell, I've had some off day switches at Carpenter where I needed like Monday instead of Tuesday, and again, it's in the morning where I know there's more flexibility, which is helpful, but I appreciate it as a working mother who's trying to keep it all together. So she was really, really good customer service from her this week.
Great,
So,
thank you. I will pass that along.
yeah.
Personal training number is great.
And the classes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the new Twilight Pass, and I was like, that's a cool idea.
Yeah. We talked about that today. I think there was 20 something that have sold already. 21 maybe.
Any other,
It's adding participation for sure.
yay. Any other comments or questions? Well, then keep up the great work. Thank you. And I will pass it on to Commissioner Bendy for Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you very much. All right, Superintendent Wolf, take it away.
Thank you. So my report begins on page 43. As you can see and imagine, a lot of my time is being occupied now by Oakton and the pending project. I do want to mention that the construction fencing is expected to go up tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. We've had multiple meetings with the city this week, and we are anticipating a permit being issued here in the next day or two. So whether in partial form, or it actually sounds like it'll be in full form to move forward with the project. So we're still waiting on MWRD and IDOT, but we had a round of MWRD comments before, and so the city's aware of where we're at before we went out to bid on some of those packages. So all that stuff is incorporated into the documents, and we're not working on anything that's related to those areas right now. So we're in a really good space with that. I constantly talk about with the project team as well as the city what we went through at Woodland, where the project fence went up and everything sat there and there was no work, and how we do not want to have that situation, so that everybody that's involved in that project understands that pain that we went through and that it will not happen again in this project. So everybody, including the city, understands that, has been very helpful in helping make sure that that's going to happen and that we stay on task with this project. So if we are getting started on this, next week here, we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, and so we'll keep on that. I remember Dirk talking a lot about, needing to really be mindful of the schedule and just making sure that we're staying on them. So I have plastered it all over the walls in my office so that it's obnoxious and looks at me all the time, so that I will constantly be on that. That is what we're doing right now.
I have a question about the fence and IDOT. So will the driveway be closed off?
Yep, the park.
So how will people be getting, how will people be getting, the workers be getting in?
They get up through the driveway. There'll be a gate and a fence, but it's closed off to the public. Technically, it's already closed to the public, the park, but,
Okay.
And the dog park was closed last week or whatever, but, so.
And then IDOT, I don't remember us ever having to go through this. It's because it's on their road?
Because of their road and the proximity to it, and so there's also a connection that needs to be made to some water main in the street, and so they have to look at the traffic counts and make a determination whether or not they would want to have a turn lane. Everybody, and even the city, is like that. They don't see that as being a realistic thing because they don't have enough right-of-way space there to create that. So one of the things that Craig from White has said that, should that be the case, we have the money. Here's the pot of money within what's there, and if that happens, this is where that pot of money is going to go to. But
A right turn lane?
yeah, like a right turn lane. So we don't anticipate that it's going to come up, but it is something that's out there, and we know that an IDOT is a long lead time permitting
But you can
process.
go ahead
So
without their
we
approval.
can, yes, we can. So, and even with MWRD, it's approved as noted, and we have to comply. We have to get a permit. We have to do all these things. And so, and if we venture into anything that's covered by MWRD, then that's White operating the project at risk. And at that point, it would be them operating at their risk because they're a construction manager at risk. And so they're not planning on doing that at this point. We anticipate having that permit within the next, couple of weeks anyway. And the work that we're doing between now and then is not going to be impactful by that. It's interior selective demolition and, some site grading, things like that. So.
Are you done with Oakton now or no?
The only other thing I want to just highlight here is this second paragraph here under future bid packages. I've got this comment here about the turf bid package or turf package. It's not technically a bid package. It's something we're going to be purchasing through a joint purchasing agreement. I'm trying to get that put together and get that final proposal and get everything in order for the April 4th meeting if I can. So I'm kind of using this opportunity and that comment hopefully to let you guys know that I'll be bringing that for approval hopefully at the next meeting. But if it doesn't line up, then we might be talking about it at the next meeting and looking for approval at the one after that. But we're kind of in the pipeline where we want to get that lined up and approved so that it's ready to get put in the late fall and winter this year. So
my question was about that. And why is it not in the guaranteed maximum price?
So because we have an opportunity to procure that through the joint purchasing agreement, we can do that as a government agency. White can't do that because they're not a government agency. So we have the opportunity to do that. So that's why we're going to go ahead with that procurement. They've written the specifications. They've helped coordinate everything for me. The number's going to come into us. We'll just do a change order. So it'll be no difference in the cost overall, but we're just passing it through us and handing it over to them. So
I think before we move on from Oakton, the other thing we planned on doing on April 4th is bringing you the presentation that shows like throughout the building that I talked about in my report last Friday, that we, went out there and we picked out all the colors, all the different design and everything, so you can physically see it. And then we're working on cleaning it up a little bit. There's a couple of changes that we don't want to put it on the website, the QR codes, until we've fixed a couple of things. So it's pretty impressive how they've done the work.
yeah, it really allows you to get a sense of space and to like be within the space there. So it's pretty cool. So that's it really that I wanted to just kind of highlight, I guess, and talk about in my board report. But if there was any questions on anything else, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Well, I saw the bid about the alternate bid, including the sales for South Park, and I had to kind of smile because that's definitely one of the things that I have heard from my less melanated neighbors, that more shade is definitely something I think a lot of our citizens want. So I think, well, it is a big price tag. It's not like a ridiculous price tag for something that I think would make a lot of community members happy.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else had any.
Yeah.
Thoughts
So
on-
we're wiping out solar at the activity center to do that.
Yeah. Are we moving on to that one now? Sorry.
Is that, I don't see where.
We
it
have
would
we
be,
have
so
approvals and stuff. I mean, did I have that in my board report? We can.
Yeah, it is in your board report.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yes, it is something that when we talked about the overall budget, we were a little bit nervous about it, and we said, don't look at the solar until, and then we got, I know. And then when the bids came in, we actually had a bidder that came in lower, but they realized they had missed some prices on there.
Some a lot, right?
Yeah, they're actually working on 2 projects right now. They're doing Hinckley and Main Park Playground for us. So we were very excited when they saw that, but then they said we just can't go forward with that number because we'll lose too much money. So, Jennifer actually set up a meeting to discuss it with the second low to just kind of talk through, and was there any other opportunities? Did they, have an opportunity to tighten up their belt on that one a little bit? And they just said, we're already really tight. And actually a couple things on this project that we realized that we missed, but not enough to make us pull our bid out. We're going to barrel through it. So, yeah. So it's that was a different, it's interesting how that project is so much tighter and came in over budget while we're doing so wonderfully at Oakton, but that's just the tale of these 2 different
That's what you were
projects.
worried about.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's where it put us in a situation of like, well, what else do we have that we can kind of, give up to move this forward? And we can't not go forward with this OSLAD project because then we get put on a list of no more OSLAD projects for a while. So
That's why we held off on solar.
yeah, I mean, it was a good strategic move and a good discussion that we had at that time.
So is it 0% chance for the year? Might there be any left later in the year or no?
We're still looking at final numbers for the 800,000 might be a little higher. We're not sure, and we don't know. I mean, other projects could come in lower.
Yeah, we never know where some of these other
Oakton,
projects could
we've
come
got,
in. So
we won't know about Oakton fully,
Right,
but
because some of the Oakton money is not referendum money.
correct.
correct. It's bond money.
But you have a lot on your plate already.
Yes.
A few things.
Yeah, we're working through a few projects, but yeah. So yeah, I did feel like when we were looking at that alternate for the cost of it and the overall scope of the project and what we were doing, like, okay, it's a $20-something thousand alternate. If we're going to do this, let's do the project. So I do suggest that we go forward with that. But
So we vote on that next week? Next time?
no, that's further down in another motion. So I think was just getting ahead of myself and made some comments about it in my board report, but we actually have a motion to approve that later on. So that's why I was getting a little confused by why we were talking about it here. No, that's my fault. I don't normally put information in my board report that we're talking about in board memos later, so that was my bad.
Should I read a motion?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. I move to approve an agreement with Balanced Environments for the 2024 landscape services bid in the total amount of $55,999 and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Second. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Discussion. All right.
So this is for the
Landscape maintenance.
landscaping, and what is it? I think you said 39 visits?
29.
29.
29, yeah, we're 29 weeks.
So from,
They'll be starting here in April
okay,
and all the way through October.
okay.
So, and then,
We have been doing a lot of landscaping in March.
yeah, well, we had staff go out and trim down some of the, stuff but it's interesting, and we were just talking about this earlier. There's been years where the ground was frozen solid on the second week of April, and baseball couldn't get out there and practice. So it's but that's what the bid is for. They did come in a little bit over budget. We talked to them. They were willing to negotiate down. We didn't change the scope. That's permissible within the law. It doesn't always work out. Most of the time they laugh you out the door, but this time they were willing to work with us. So they brought it down to match our budget with the request that should they, engage further, that we have an opportunity to increase it for the CPI because we don't have an escalator clause in there. Dirk also said that was permissible, and so we had that conversation. I felt like that was fair. Gail and I talked about that as well, and we thought that was something that we could move forward with. So that's where we're at with that bid. So I think overall, this should be like we made a big jump last year. We kind of tested the waters. We made some progress, I think, but I think this should really put us in a great spot this year.
Visits were there last year?
There was, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Just wanted to know.
About half as
who were
many.
the months and how many?
yeah.
Well, and I encouraged him to start earlier too.
Yes.
We were going to start in May, and I was like, no.
Yeah. We bumped it up.
Yeah. Congrats on getting it down. Are any of our natural areas going under this?
Not under this one. We have separate contracts for that. We had a couple of those that were under multiple year agreements, some that were tied and associated with the growing periods of projects, or just because we had decided to lock in 2 year. So when we went and budgeted this last year, we had identified and tried to look at pricing from other companies, and we got that pricing. It was significantly higher, but we could at the end of this year entertain that if we wanted to, but it will cost us a bit more, most likely. So, but we handle that separately. So,
But you didn't migrate any, like Northeast detention over there?
No. Well, actually, I should say Northeast Detention might still be in here, actually, because it was in there last year and we didn't take it back out of here.
Oh.
So Northeast Detention is actually most likely still in here, yes. If you'd like a list by list, bed by bed, play by play, we can pull up the maps. And
I just text you with pictures.
I've got GIS maps mapped out for every single one of our landscaping beds now.
Is
So.
Northeast Detention that pit by field? Is that what we're referring? Yeah. Okay. I was trying to figure out.
It's not a pet.
It's a nice pit.
Maybe I'm always over there in the spring when it isn't.
We'll send you some nice pictures later on this year.
It needs some grasses cut down. Are you guys going to cut the grasses down?
They did some, but they've been so busy with Oakton that they were kind of doing some, and then they were busy with that, and I think they're trying to leave the
It
rest for the
happened in the dead of night.
contractors,
Would
so
anyone get in trouble?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
When you're walking your dog.
Smart enough not to mention it during a board meeting.
Need a roll call?
All right, anyone else? Okay, should we have a roll call? Thank you.
Commissioner Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Aye.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Aye.
All right. I'll read the next one. I move to approve change order number 1 to allow for an increase equal to the CPI as determined by Section 18185 of the Property Tax Code to the weekly price should the Park District and Balanced Environments decide to extend the agreement for the year 2025 and 2026, and to authorize the Executive Director to execute and deliver such agreement. Second, anybody?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion?
So this is really just what we had talked about with the change order. We use the specific language that ties this to the same CPI index that we use as a tax code to identify where we're using. So just kind of keeps it clean and neat. Pretty straightforward. This won't change any pricing for this year, but it'll impact it for next year and it'll help us for budgeting purposes as well. So.
Okay, good. Thank you for negotiating that. Any other discussion? No? Okay, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Matzah,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Aye.
Commissioner Halting.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, I move to approve an agreement with LRS for the base bid of $45,335.45, and to authorize the Executive Director to execute and deliver such agreement.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
So this is our waste and recycling bid. We do this every 3 years. We've had LRS for the past at least 3 years, maybe longer. And we've been happy with them overall. We did request a option or an alternate for composting food scraps, but they did not offer a price for that. So we'll just have to go seek that opportunity elsewhere when we decide to go forward with that process. So we had an offer from the other bidder, Republic Services, so we could even reach out to them, or we know that there's other independent groups that do it. So we can just kind of use those as guidance to see if we think that the pricing is fair, if we decide to go forward with that. So
Did LRS say why they wouldn't take on the compost? They do it for District 64.
nope,
Not enough, maybe, I don't know.
yeah,
Volume? They didn't say.
no, they're not required to. I mean, we could reach out and ask them, but
So would the franchise agreement that we've negotiated, the city's negotiated on compost apply to the Park District? Just for residential?
For collective resource?
Yeah, collective resource.
I don't know.
I'm asking Brian.
Oh, the city had the same issue. They tried to compost and they ended up doing an a la carte. They just put out an RFP and got a couple of companies, just like you said. So I don't know if it would apply to us. So probably separate entity.
I mean, if they have an agreement in place and someone's collecting in town, it might be, I mean, it would be at least a starting point for us to look at and
go
to say,
get a
hey,
couple
if you're
prices,
coming here,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, the city had a similar issue, and I know they just had their contract extended another 2 years.
Yeah.
So they're obviously happy with the first 2 years they
Sure.
got. With them, so it might be worth reaching out to the city about.
Good to know.
Anything else? All right, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Matzah,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Aye.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc.
Aye.
Okay, next motion. I move to approve an agreement with All Bry Construction for the base bid plus alternate number 1 in the total amount of $1,632,365.46. I hope I said that right. And to authorize the Executive Director to execute and deliver such agreement.
Second.
Discussion?
So we started to talk about this. This is the South Park Oslad project. We kind of talked through how this came to be. Just do want to point out that there is a $120,000 allowance in here for unforeseen issues. So we don't want to plan on those not being used, but if we're lucky enough to not use those will be returned to us in a deductive change order, and that will lower the overall price of this by that amount, or whatever amount we don't use, which is standard for all the projects that we have allowances built into. So But this is what the price is and where we expect it to be at this point in time. We'll just have to plan on spending it all. If it's not, then we can revisit what to do with that money once it's returned, so, and the project's completed.
Can I ask, is Hinckley, that's all bid out, right? So we know all our costs for our.
Yeah, Hinckley's bid out. We don't,
Something comes up.
yeah, unless something comes up, we don't have, I feel like that was one that we didn't have allowances into, so we put some extra on the side with it. But it's not built into an allowance, so we would have to come to the board depending on the dollar amount for a change orders. But it is all bid out, so.
Yeah, and most of the things are, I mean, they're already digging for the pathways, and
Yeah.
so anything, it's not, I don't want to say it's not high risk, but it's not as high risk as
It's
some of the
lower
ones with
risk, yeah.
parking lots, and, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it's got basketball court, and you got the playground, and.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question that I fear is pretty stupid.
Such thing.
So we were going to put solar on at Centennial and at South Park?
No.
Okay, because this is all like put together in one budget. Because the third line item says solar panels on roof.
Yeah,
So that 163 is for solar panels on the roof
yeah,
at South Park?
no.
Okay.
Just
It's a li-
using the money
Money
from
from the.
So,
Okay,
When
okay.
I-
It's confusing because it looks like it's part
is.
of the South Park project, so that's
Yeah.
why I was like, I
But
don't
I-
remember talking about.
trying to allocate where the money.
I got it.
Right.
what I'm doing when I do this, I'm probably being a little too nitpicky, and I'm using the literal term that's in our capital project list. But it's in a subcategory that's highlighted on top that says it's for
Got
Centennial
it. So the
Park,
solar panels on roof refers to the solar
Yeah,
panels at
I'll-
Centennial.
I'll be
not-
conscious of
Okay,
that
it
and-
was all like
Yeah,
in one thing, and I was
Oh, yeah,
like,
that-
oh my God, did we
could see
talk
how you would
about
see
solar panels on
Yeah.
South Park? And I, yeah, oh, okay.
Around the
Okay.
bathroom.
Okay, thank
Would be a
you,
lot.
thank you for
The
clarifying.
roof
Yes.
amount is from there too.
Yeah.
The 77,000.
Okay, so those, the second and third line items are actually for the activity center.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that clarification.
Yep, and I will change how I handle that in the future. More clear.
I feel better that I didn't like sleep through 10 minutes of a park board meeting. Good.
About solar.
Especially about solar. You'd think I'd be paying attention. Thank you, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another year, no solar. I think the first meeting I had with you was about solar 9 years ago.
We'll get there.
Makes you feel better. The
Middle pro.
first thing I want to do is take the signs down at Oakton, yeah, and they're still there, so, yeah, 13.
We can get you out there with a sledgehammer
Yeah,
next
I
week
think
if you
I
want.
would like that. Actually, that might make me feel really good.
Do you have anything you
Yeah.
need to work out?
Yeah, exactly.
We did get those cute
Time
little
flies, time flies.
It doesn't look.
I thought that'd be an easy one.
It doesn't look. It doesn't look any better either.
No, it looks the same.
All right, roll call, yeah?
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau? Aye. Commissioner Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Aye.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes. Okay, last motion. I move to adopt ordinance number 24-3, an ordinance authorizing the sale of used personal property owned by the Park Ridge Park District. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
So, I keep clearing stuff out, and I had a nice blanket motion, but I knew there was a few things, and I knew this when we did that last time. I knew the Zamboni was a little different. I needed to keep that separate because it has hours on it, and you don't want it. We needed to use it after that motion. So, we also had this trailer, which is a licensed, has a VIN number, so that was kind of its own separate thing. And then this copy machine, while it was kind of in office equipment, to be fair, the one that we're surplusing was the copy machine from the fitness center, because we took the one from Oakton, put it at the fitness center, took the fitness center one and put it back over there. So I didn't want to be cutting corners or anything. So I was doing a memo anyway, so here it is. So that's why these three things are on here. So pretty simple. Should be the last ones. We're pretty much empty.
It's empty.
Yeah.
So did we have two then? Because you said we're storing one.
Yeah, we have two Zambonis. And so we have an electric Zamboni. We've kept that. That has been placed on a trailer that is currently in Antioch on a trailer. It's getting shrink wrapped this weekend probably. it's where it's at. It's where it's going to live for the next probably year or so, a year and a couple of months. And then this is the gas Zamboni that we're getting rid of. We don't have a place for it. We don't have space for it. We're going to be the second Zamboni that we're going to be purchasing will be another electric Zamboni. And then we'll have our Zambonis then when we bring our new one, the existing one back, we'll be replacing the batteries in there. When those batteries get replaced, we'll have a handful of years on those, and that'll put us in a good spot where we're kind of, every other, the life cycle will be about split in half. So I think like every 4 to 5 years, we'll be replacing a Zamboni. So we're not buying a couple of Zambonis every 10 years at the same
How
time.
much are Zambonis?
Well, we'll be soon learning that Zambonis are about $160,000. So,
missed it.
yeah.
How old is the electric Zamboni that's in the boat?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I could get back to you on that, but it's not, we weren't quite at the point where we needed to replace it yet, but we do know that we'll get another 4 or so years out of it after we replace the batteries, 4 to 5 years, and then we'll have to replace it again, so. Yep.
Any other questions? All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Grau,
Aye.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe.
Yes.
Okay. Zamboni. Okay. All right, passing it along for policy.
Oh.
Right, no?
We got one more.
One more discussion thing.
Zamboni.
I thought we talked about it.
No, I'm still
Another
here.
Zamboni.
I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here. I won't go that way. So I have a memo here at the end, last page. This is for the Zamboni, the one that we will be purchasing. It's a slightly smaller model, anticipated to use primarily on the studio rink, but will be used for either one. It's an electric Zamboni. We just found out as my staff was kind of just going through the motions of kind of coordinating some of these things. He was talking to our rep, and he came into my office as I was writing the board stuff, and he was like, "Do you know they're 500 days out on us?" I'm like, days or 500 days. Ooh, we got to order Zamboni. So, so we need to order the Zamboni. So I'm going to be bringing this to the next board meeting. He's working on a price. We purchased them through a joint purchasing agreement. They're on Sourcewell. So, and we have this within the owner purchase items budget that we have as part of our overall budget number that we have. So this is that, we're just verifying the number because we got that number last year in July. We're updating it, getting a specific quote that we can exercise. So we will plan to have that here at the April 4th board meeting. 148,000-ish.
Like I read that earlier.
So that's it for me.
All right, I guess that's it, huh? All right. Thank you. All right, passing it along to Commissioner Grau for policy.
No, nothing to report for policy. Intergovernmental.
Nothing to report for intergovernmental.
Is there any communications and correspondence? All right. Is there any new business? I did have a question, talking about signs at Oakton. I know we don't have a sign, we don't have money for a sign, but hopefully we will have money for a sign. And we've talked for years about having a digital sign, but it's going to take code changes at the city. So how does staff want to think about approaching that
We have a sign. We have this money in for the signs now. Yeah.
now? Okay, electronic.
No, not
So-
electronic.
So I think it's worth having a discussion of what type of sign, if the board wants to talk about trying to get an electronic sign and what would be the cost.
I believe we talked about it at one point.
We did, but then we'll have to talk to the city, like who would take.
I know we talked about, we were not going to go electronic over there. Yeah. When we were planning, in the plans. Yeah.
Because there was no money, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Because I remember saying like those houses, I remember saying the people who live on Oakton, their houses are pretty close to the road, and just like
We haven't
having
shown
that
it in any of the
slide, that
approval.
sign rolling.
I
into their living room windows. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we talked about something, and also, it was not in the plans for the city, when we went to the city, because we wouldn't have gotten approval, so we showed something different.
Right.
I'd have to go back and look at our notes on that
Mm-hmm.
and see what the discussion was and what we talked about.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I think it's certainly something to discuss for us in the future.
I guess we did.
Yeah, well, we can continue to discuss it, or,
did.
you know, well,
Huh? Yeah, right. Yeah, we can talk about it. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of the city, right? It's-
yeah.
Well, if, so the city would have to agree to it before we could do anything.
Mhm.
It's just, you guys have worked with the city on zoning variations before.
Mhm.
I guess, would it be, the board would put out feelers, or?
I wouldn't do that yet until we go back and really look at what the discussion was, and where, we'll talk about it again, and look at our notes about what we talked about that
Okay.
sign. Yeah.
Okay,
It could have been that the closeness to the houses. I don't think we talked about it in the referendum, but those are all, things that certainly
right.
board can change their mind on
Yeah,
if you
I
want.
just
Yeah.
remember there wasn't money for a sign. That's what I,
We'll go back and look and talk about it at the next meeting.
all right.
I feel like it might have even been before the referendum.
I do feel like it was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was. We talked
Yeah.
about, and maybe in general, we've talked about them. And they're, just because there's so many different ways to market now is one of the discussions, and that for the cost, to get one of those versus all the other marketing, tools available that weren't, when people were doing digital as much. I think that was all part of one conversation, but we can certainly go back and,
No, my memories is similar to yours, where I think we were talking about the potential of proposing a sign
Uh-huh.
to be put into place, and that it would be an uphill challenge
Mhm.
because it's going, in some degrees, it's would be a different sign.
New to the city.
Had that
Yep.
location in the past.
yeah,
But,
and it's,
it would be
it's not
interesting.
allowed right now anyway in the city code. That's the biggest thing. Do you remember anything differently, Margaret? Okay.
Well, yeah, if we can talk about it in the future, that would be a
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Any new other new business? All right, hearing none, I move to adjourn this meeting.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.